Hey, Lanzer. All right, let's see if money. I'm guessing maybe he's switching from PC to phone again.
Like sometimes X space stuff feels like a jigsaw puzzle.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've stopped trying to use it on desktop anymore because there's always a weird quirk or an issue. So I tend to stick to mobile. It seems to work much better.
Yeah.
Morning, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
Great. Yeah, I
I can
hopped on
hear
my
you, but I can't
PC and
see you.
I was like, oh man, I got to get back back on mobile after last week, so I had to swap back out here.
You're invisible to me. I can't see you.
The invisible ape, just out here.
There you are. I guess I had to minimize it, then bring it back up, and now you're there again.
Nice, nice. Give it a minute here. Let's see what we got. I'm just gonna share it out. All right. Well, we can get going. Can have the recorded listeners can catch up on it and such. So we'll get things kicked off. And just welcome everybody to the Super Phoenix Sports X Space, our SPS Weekly. We do this weekly. We're covering any news, any announcements, any exciting things that are coming up in advance of some pretty cool esports events that we've got cooking. So I want to welcome Nord, head of Super Phoenix, the entity and the sports itself, and Lanzer, who is running everything with the tournaments. So welcome, guys. Good morning. How's it going?
Going well. Thanks, money.
Yep, going great. Another week.
Another
Yep.
week. A lot going on behind the scenes, but I guess some of it's in behind the scenes, but open for people to see via our YouTube streams and such for the team that's doing the tournaments and such. But Nord, I know you've been putting in a lot of work with the roadshow, with reaching out to people, connections, and answering questions from communities and community members and such. How'd this week go with that on that front?
Yeah, this week we had to postpone a little bit and do some rescheduling. So this week wasn't too busy compared to some of the last. Definitely a lot of conversations this week, but most of them were kind of internal and follow up stuff, and then a couple of external entities that are more just dealing with getting things on track and on board for the launch March 1st. However, as far as the roadshow goes, we are still continuing. So I've got Heimdall, the Guild Heimdall, on the list for early next week. And then next week, Wednesday, we'll be back on the Brew on Star Atlas, just for kind of a general reminder for folks and a quick update there. And then, like I said, there's still one or two final guilds that we're working on getting the final dates rescheduled here probably next week. But yeah, like I said, everything's been really positive. I've been having kind of these offline conversations again with a handful of folks and a few of the other guild leaders in between. And again, yeah, feedback's been pretty positive. People are kind of waiting to see, how we're going to roll things out, what the experience is going to be like. But we feel pretty good about it.
Now that you've done a few of these, do you feel like there's some certain questions that come up regularly with the different groups? Is there like a fact that we could put out there or publish out there that would maybe help maybe answer some of those questions or spark questions or thoughts in people's minds ahead of time or afterwards that just got me thinking. I'm like, yeah, you've met with a lot of groups already and such, and I wonder if there's things that are coming up each time that we can help you by publishing or sharing out there.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I think I kind of I have it pretty well down pat at this point. Going over the updates and sort of what we're delivering, what the plan is. But I would say questions. There's always a few that kind of surface pretty normally. One is kind of around the general, prizes and compensation for players and for people betting. Also, just kind of in general, what the betting structure is going to be like. And then funny enough, we talked quite a bit about the tournaments and kind of how that's all going to run and the tournament breakdown, and people are again very excited about it, and many of the guilds are participating, which is great. And I think we may have mentioned this in the past. One of the things that has definitely come up um, multiple times is the desire for more casual style tournament play as well. So obviously that's not where we're starting out right away next week, because we're kind of doing the official tournaments, getting them up and running. But ultimately using the same tooling that we're building to be able to do more of those casual matches in the near future, I think is great. It's absolutely plausible. We definitely want to do it. But we've heard that just about every group we've talked to. So anyway, it's great feedback, and I really hope we continue to get feedback like that as we go, because now once people really get in and start, experiencing the racing component of it, viewing what we're putting out as far as a live stream, and then, navigating the new website here to come first thing next week, we'll definitely be looking for feedback on all of that, which is great. And so people have been really good about it. Yeah, I think we're really excited. And there's a number of those things that I can touch on here maybe a little bit later again, just to like reiterate a couple of those, maybe with
Yeah.
that in particular. And along with that, now we have a much clearer, I would say, roadmap of kind of the growth or kind of where that's going to go over the next few months for the betting components, because we're starting out relatively simple, and then we're going to add components as we go here over the next month or two. And I think I can probably speak to that in a little bit more detail if people are interested.
Nice. But you kind of touched on the next segment here too, was the website, the platform. What's I know I've been seeing a lot, and I know we've mentioned that it's being built out and it's coming and such. How was this week? What's the where are we at with that?
Sure. Lanzer can also jump in here too. I know
Yep.
he's huge help with a lot of feedback with our developers. Um, they're literally in the kind of final stages right now of just finishing up a little bit of the final functionality, and then we also have obviously the folks who are helping us with graphics, just working on kind of some updates for the general landing page, and a few visuals. So again, it's really just kind of final polish at this stage. I think the functionality with the database, behind the scenes, and how it relates to the user experience on the front end of the website, I think all of that is pretty well done. Again, just a few final touches. I think we're updating some of the player profile components literally this weekend, and that should finalize it for us. And my goal is to get at least a quick kind of walkthrough video complete, so that folks can be able to jump in, kind of get a quick introduction to what they need to do if they are interested in placing bets on the matches before we start March 1st. And we definitely want to have that up and running and fully operational for people no later than midweek next week.
Perfect. I love the walkthrough idea. I think that just makes it a lot easier for us visual learners out here too, to be able to see it in action, kind of see what exactly I need to do, what path it goes down and such. So, Lancer, I know you've done a lot of back and forth with working on this. How are you feeling about it?
I am feeling good. I think we've been pretty much prepared for the past month now. Most of our preparations surround adapting our production to the game itself. So the website I think looks great, and the more functionality, the more time that we have to go from that minimum viable product to a more refined, built out system is just it's even better. So it's kind of like a cherry on top for the website, while the rest of the production with the game integration is trying to catch up.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of data that's going to have to go back and forth, and we're putting it out in the forward facing to participants as well. But on the back side of things, there's a lot that has to be input into it and such. So it's definitely kind of a puzzle piece to get it all together and ready for the final or kickoff. So I just appreciate what the team has done with that, and I know Architect has been working on that with us on that. So great stuff. I'm excited to see the walkthrough and the launch coming up here. What was the date? I think you teased the date last week, right, Nord?
Yeah, I'll be able to have it finalized. We'll kind of figure out here with these last couple components this weekend. But my ultimate goal is we want to be able to start funneling people over there to be submitting brackets, by the middle of next week. Like I said, we'll be on the brew, kind of reminding folks Wednesday the 5th. So ideally, we want to be maybe a day or so ahead of that, but no later than next Wednesday. We want to have folks be able to get in and start filling out brackets, in advance of the actual first round of races that's happening Sunday the 1st. So I feel really good about that timeline wise. But like I said, we can kind of talk a little bit more about maybe the basic offerings as far as that betting side goes for people who are interested. And then even a little bit of like what phase 2 and phase 3 look like into March and April, because like I said, we're getting this out the door and I feel good about it. And we've had a little extra time to polish it, which is great. But we're by no means just kind of leaving it as is. This is absolutely going to be adding functionality and kind of an additional work in progress, more ways for people to participate from kind of that spectator sport version or vision, the website itself, even throughout as the tournament progresses, into the month and into next month.
It's a constantly evolving thing. So I think with any platform like this that you're bringing in so much action and interface and such, there's going to be things that need to be tweaked. There's going to need new offerings or new ways to participate and such as you go, and we learn a little bit more about what users enjoy as well. So that's awesome. It'll be fun to see where it is in the next month, 2 months, 3 months. So great stuff.
Yep.
Lancer, let's jump back over we talked a little bit about the website structure. We had some structure changes or additions on the team side of things this week. I know Anime stepped into a new position, and then also we seem to have some new people coming in. Do you want to share any on that?
Yeah, so Anime has just been firing all cylinders. She jumped into the role. Whoops, am I speaking?
Yep, you're on.
Oh, interface or user interface strikes again. So it shows that I'm muted, but if I'm speaking, then okay. So Anime jumped into the role, and she was running right away, and she's just been knocking tasks out, and it greatly accelerating our preparations for March 1st. And while that's been happening, we were able to our new recruiter, Mehdi, he found us one of our first augmentees. So we welcome Skull Crusher, awesome name by the way, Skull Crusher to the augmentee pool. And augmentees are general helpers to Super Phoenix Sports. They don't have any particular role, and they're volunteer positions, and they help out wherever they can, as much as they can. And so Skull Crusher will be our second augmentee. And different people have become augmentees to paid positions, like Maddie, for instance. He began as an augmentee, as a play-by-play caster, and then later transitioned to a paid position on as a recruiter. So we tend to look inward first into our augmentees before we advertise paid positions. And Mehdi was a good fit for it, and he continues to bring in new folks to augmentees roles. And from what I understand, he's got 2 more that he's going to present, and then I'll interview them and we'll determine if they're a good fit. My position as a director still is the position that hires and removes folks from the team. And so the recruiter finds those who are willing and or motivated to join the team, and then he gets them into the Discord talks them through what to expect, and then they have a discussion with me and the Join Team channel. And so there's a couple more that will be interviewing for the augmentee role, and yeah. So there's the recruitment SOP, anime, and our new position that we just filled for augmentees. And we're always taking new augmentees. So there is no limit in the augmentee pool right now, where there is about a 24-person limit for paid positions, which we have all filled.
Nice. That's great. It's always good to have new people coming in, interested in learning and such. And, we do some cross training over the past couple of weeks. We've done some cross training within the team. So people are kind of getting to feel out things they enjoy or might not and see what interests them within those roles. So we definitely invite people to come swing by, reach out and contact us, join the Discord. And if you want to get involved or learn more, and we got team members that are happy to chat with you and see if it's a good fit. All right. The next thing I have on the list today is race rule updates. I noticed on the 18th, I think there was a post in the Discord stating there were some updates. Lancer, I don't know if you've gone through those much at all, but I just wanted to see if there's anything that stood out to you on that or things that you might have seen as big changes in that.
I did not. Oh, they're talking about the dedicated server stuff. No, I wouldn't say there's much to talk about right now. The race rule updates are mostly surrounding like procedural updates for what the dedicated server is going to be like. So instead of joining Video Ninja, there's going to be a different procedure now that we expect to have a working spectator camera by next week. If things don't go according to plan and the spectator camera isn't working, then we'll revert back to some of the older rules. But these new rules, as of right now, are just taking into account the bugs that we're encountering, and I don't really have much to go over. Although I think by next week we might have a more kind of solidified rule set for all incoming racers. It won't be a whole lot different. There'll just be some things that we noticed that'll be allowed or disallowed. But I don't really have much to talk about as of right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that you have kind of a little bit of evolution through it as the game is updated and develops a little more. While we're preparing, we have to make some adjustments and we have to kind of see what makes sense still or what ways we need to protect the integrity of the game. So that's one of the things that we're very focused on. We have people on the team that are very focused on making sure this is very clear and shared with the racers and participants, whether it's in racing or shooter in the future, that we are on top of the rules and on top of making sure that it's fair and fun. So that's important, I think, integrity wise, but also with the aspect of wagering and such. We want to make sure that it's very clear and stated. So we'll keep updating as any of those changes happen, and we'll make sure that the racers are kept on top of it as well too within the Discord. So I just wanted to make sure we emphasize that as we're moving closer and closer, because we do have races coming up soon. What is our kickoff date for that?
As of right now, it's still March 1st.
March 1st
is our kickoff date. Can you hear me still?
Yep, I got you now.
Mm-hmm. And this UI bug is it's strange. But yeah, so March 1st is when we're expecting to do the first qualifier matches for Star Racer. And as I look through the race rules, I noticed now when I scroll at the very, very bottom, Esco, our referee, included detailed explanations for bug reports. So it looks like there's a hard rule against botting or macroing. And that's mostly because of there's some bugs that allow players to have an unfair competitive advantage in how they race. So please take a look at that. Scroll to the bottom of the race rules if you're a competing racer. I expect that we'll have something, an update next week as well. But March 1st, it's a Sunday, and it will start at 4 4 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be distributing an agenda out in the coming weeks.
Nice. Well, it'll be great to get out there. People kind of set their schedule and put it on the calendar and make sure they're ready. And I know Nord, with the website coming on soon, we'll be able to start, integrating all that information and getting people set up and those brackets going. So
Yeah, and I would say that's a great point as far as the exact timelines and things to watch out for. We're gonna be just kind of blasting everything here on social media starting in just the next couple of days. So that's going to be definitely the best place to pay attention, right? The Twitter account. If you're following us in Discord, we'll start putting announcements out there as well. Um, you know, basically right here. If you're already here, checking us out, listening, following along, this will be the best place to get any kind of updates. But yeah, exactly on the times, the dates. And then obviously if there are any kind of alterations or anything that comes up, we'll have a much better grasp of everything, for this call next Friday. But yeah, I feel like we're on track, and kind of pushing forward, for March 1st.
awesome. Are there anything you want to dive into at all today? This is a great time to do that. If there's any final thoughts that you want to share or things you want to cover, this is a great spot for that.
I kind of mentioned previously, I can do a real quick synopsis as far as like the betting rollout and kind of what's going to be offered,
Yeah.
again, for not necessarily participating right in the race. Because again, this is just another way that we can kind of branch out to more people who are maybe not actively, in UE5 in the gaming environment with Star Atlas, but are still interested. Um, as we roll out next week, the racing tournament's going to be broken up over those first 4 weekends in March. And so we'll be offering kind of a miniature version of each section of that overall tournament bracket, as something that folks can choose to place wagers on, or effectively, you know, choose each stage of their bracket as players progress each Sunday. That's what will be available on the website. So folks will be able to go in next week, a few days ahead of schedule, kind of see who's going to be playing in those first 2 matches, those two qualifiers on Sunday, choose kind of their option for the best 2 winners of each of those 2 matches. That'll go to the third match, which is kind of the qualifier there for those, or I'm sorry, the finals for that first qualifier, and they can choose the top 2 winners of that. So effectively, you're kind of picking your top 2 winners for all 3 matches that will be held on Sunday, and prize packages and payouts will go out between that week and next for people who participate in that first week. So the bracket setup is essentially how we're kind of running everything from the beginning, because it's the simplest way to get the product out and get people engaged. And we'll do that for each and every week as we progress through the tournament, kind of on that same cadence. So again, if people, miss a week, or they want to just kind of check it out and follow along and maybe not jump in until we get closer to the finals, they can certainly do that. Or if they want to jump in and bet, every week, they can, or even place multiple different options for brackets too. All of that stuff's possible, just depending on kind of how involved people want to be. Going forward, though, we've already got kind of on the docket here with our developers to start working on additional betting components that we're looking to get added, either probably in the April timeframe, if I'm being honest. We'll kind of see how that goes, but ultimately in the April timeframe, when we're also planning to offer the Star Shooter component, right? So not only racer, but also the shooter component. We want to be able to start offering some additional options for betting. We'll still run the brackets kind of week in and week out like we're doing now, because that tooling is all there, and it'll be easy and just kind of makes sense. But we're going to also start adding in kind of multi-line sort of parlay style bets, where people can kind of bet a little bit more strategically or statistically on a certain set of outcomes within the larger tournament, based on either, their guilds or their favorite players, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll start being able to facilitate some of those, probably, like I said, in that April timeframe, and we'll see how that progresses. Beyond that, the timeline gets a little fuzzy, because obviously it's going to depend on resources and feedback. But ultimately, once we get into the May-June timeframe, we'll be seriously targeting much more of the binary kind of pick your winner style prediction markets, which I think a lot of people are familiar with now, because they've just kind of taken social media and things by storm recently, and there's been a lot of integrations, specifically in the world of crypto and Solana, just very recently. So there's definitely a path there for us from a development side, and we certainly want to pursue it. There's just a bit more involved behind the scenes when it comes to liquidity pools and licensing for that, which is why we're kind of making that a phase 2, phase 3 part of the project. But we absolutely have a plan for it and the means to do the development. It's more about just kind of making sure we can roll it out in a thoughtful way, and that we get the other components online right away now that are much easier to do from a compliance standpoint and from a technical build side.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I feel like this is ramping up more and more with the whole space, and not just in Web3, but Web2 as well. There's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement, and I love the expansion of offerings and what you're able to do at Super Phoenix Sports, and be able to really customize your own strategy and make sure it's you're playing the way you want to play. And I think we all love the strategy of it, I guess. So it's fun to see that develop, and it'll be cool to add those other features into it as we go.
Yep.
New motto: play the way you want to play.
Play the way you want to play. Super Phoenix Sports.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think, I know this. I feel like the past few days have been very Olympic heavy or sports heavy, and so I know I've been kind of glued to things. And yesterday with the women's hockey gold battle, that was a big betting event and such, and a lot of Canada versus U.S. Sentiment out there. But it was just fun to see excitement and energy, and I feel like the betting aspect really heightened it for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people. So.
Really, yeah, there's a reason it's become so compelling, in such a narrative recently, is that, even if the stakes are relatively small, it just adds another component to the kind of, spectating or enjoyment or competitive nature of these sports that already exist between people. And so, again, end state, we would love to have, multiple versions of this be able to play out between, rival guilds and between individuals who want to jump in and, and play against each other, or who want to again on that sort of betting side. And the fact that, who's going to win, who's going to lose based on their, their bets or their predictions. And then the ability to kind of add in a social, engagement function, right? So, a general open chat room and that kind of stuff that can be implemented, alongside of these betting components for the live events, I think can just really be a lot of fun and kind of add, a true socially competitive component, on top of the gaming layer itself.
That's awesome. That's exciting. Excited to see what it looks like over as it evolves. We've used that word a couple times, but it is exciting to kind of think of what it can become. So that's great stuff, man. Very cool. Well, any final thoughts we want to get out there before we wrap up for this Friday? Lanzer, any sign offs or any last announcements you want to share?
Looking forward to March 1st. The game patches are coming, and the team's ready. If you want to join the team, please reach out to Nettie or myself. He goes by Oxmed. And if you join SPS Discord, the Super Phoenix Sports Discord, and go to join team, strike up a conversation by adding me, and we will start the process. If you are wanting to join as a racer or a shooter in what we call players, then reach out to Inge or Brujo, and you could find them pretty much anywhere, almost every Discord in the Startless community, and they will get you signed up. If you're looking to participate as an audience member, all you have to do is tune into twitch.tv Super Phoenix Sports, also YouTube, same name, and X here on this handle here. We'll be streaming all over the place. And then if you're looking to participate in the brackets, go to superphoenixsports.com, the website, and you can dap right in. So there you go.
Awesome.
Yay.
Nord, as Lancer was sharing about that, one thing that came to mind that we talk a lot about the racing and Super Phoenix Sports and such, and I think from a stepping back, if you're somebody new coming in and you're jumping in and listening for the first time or kind of interested about Star Atlas in general, what's the best way to get started with that? You feel like you kind of want to take a look at what this is, what this environment is, this platform, and so you can understand what Super Phoenix Sports is, what's the best way to step into Star Atlas for the first time?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I think Lancer just nailed it there with all the links and the kind of the ways to see what we're up to. Those are absolutely the
You
best
can
way to.
tell I've done that before.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh yeah, not your first rodeo, right? Yeah, I think those. That's honestly the lowest barrier to entry for people is going to be the Twitch and the YouTube stream, obviously, for folks who are maybe just completely unaffiliated with the game at this point. But yeah, as far as Star Atlas goes, they do a phenomenal job, and we're directly connected there, which is great. So the Star Atlas Discord is obviously how you'd want to get wrapped in as far as the game goes. They have free game codes all the time. You can pop out to Epic Game Store and basically download and go from there and kind of play around yourself. That's probably the easiest way for the direct game side itself. But again, anything that we're doing sort of on top of it or related to the tournaments, we just encourage people to watch, right? Just to start watching, pay attention, check us out, and then as you get a little more interested or more curious, certainly hit us up, on Discord, follow us here, on X, and kind of go from there. So I know for some folks, everyone's in a different phase of the journey. We have a lot of folks, obviously, from the core Star Atlas team that have followed us for a long time, which is great and we appreciate. But obviously, we're also reaching out to new audiences on kind of casting a wider net, with the live stream and the tournaments. So I think it'll be across the board. But yeah, there's multiple ways to catch on to what we're doing. And I would say either way, if you're checking out the game itself through the Star Atlas portal, or you're checking out what we're doing with the tournaments, we're kind of cross pollinated there in a number of different ways.
100%. I think that's a great way. And I think the community is pretty welcoming and will kind of guide you whatever your entrance point is, whether it's, through Super Phoenix Sports or at the Star Atlas side of things. I think that we're all kind of aligned with wanting the exposure and people to come in and try things out. And the best way to get them there is by communicating and just connecting. So we invite you all to, join us next week, next Friday at the same time. We'll have some updates going into the racing calendar here. So let's have a great weekend. I appreciate both of you guys making time, and for those listening, thank you for taking the time to listen. And feel free to share this. And have a great weekend.
All right.
Team.